Hope you're having a wonderful time at Trailhead DX. This is a fantastic conference. Hope you're making good use of all the networking and education opportunities. This session is feature management for ISVs, the why, the what, and the how. It's a short session, but I'm going to go through all the important points. First of all, a couple of questions. Who here is an ISV? Fantastic. Everyone else, please stick around because you'll pick up some great information on what our partners can do. Who here has already used feature management, learned about it, or is actually using it? Couple of people, rest of you, awesome. So, Salesforce is a publicly traded company, forward-looking statement. Please make all your purchasing decisions on currently available, features and services. All right, we're good to go. So a little introduction. My name is Peter Martin. I'm an ISV technical evangelist. I work as the technical resource for partners. There's my Twitter handle and email. I've been with Salesforce just over 12 months, but I've been using Salesforce in various capacities for about 11 years. So let's go through the agenda. The why, the most important question. Why should you care about feature management? Then we'll go into the what, the main components, and how to use it. And then we'll do some demos. So you're an ISV, you've got this amazing product out in the marketplace, you're getting some great feedback from your customers, and you probably got some good ideas on your own. Wouldn't it be great if you could pilot these out to select customers? And use the technology that Salesforce uses. So this is exactly what feature management is used for. So again, the main use case is activating features for select customers. Another excellent use case is, let's say you've got your package already developed, you're ready to go, you've done the dev, the testing, the QA work, but you haven't done the communication yet. You can roll this out and activate features at a later time. But I think the coolest feature is being able to track and measure adoption back to your license management org. So we'll talk about that next. So what? The first component is metadata types. We allow you to define feature parameters, and this is how your application interacts with the license management org. This is the basis for the feature management framework. So the three basic metadata types, Boolean, integer, and date. And I'll explain next why we keep it at just three basic types. The next major component is the feature parameter direction. So when you define a feature parameter, you can define what direction it interacts with, whether it's LMO to subscriber. So these type of feature parameters allow you to enable or disable features in your LMO, and then your application can query those parameters and take the appropriate action, like show a visual force page or show a lightning component. The subscriber to LMO, this allows you to set feature parameters, and then that gets propagated back to your license management org. Now, one word of caution here. Because you have the ability to capture metrics from your subscribers, and because trust is our #1 value, please, 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 please communicate with your customers. Be open about what you're capturing, how you're capturing it, and what it's going to be used for. And this is also why we only have three basic types. It's by design, because your customers can be assured there's absolutely no chance of data leakage back to your license management org. And the final component is our feature management application. So the FMA sits on the LMA in your LMO. We love TLAs and technology. But the feature management application is basically a managed package that's supplied by Salesforce, just like the license management application. And this provides the supporting objects and also related lists that you'll see on your license detail page. And I'll show an example of that. So this is the fun part, how you work with feature management. So the first thing you have to think of is how your application is going to behave, how you want to roll out these features and functionality to your customers. So the first way to do it is a simple one-step process. You can define an LMO to subscriber parameter and basically enable it in your license management org, and it gets propagated to your subscribers and they can use the feature. It's a one-step process. It might be totally adequate for your use case, but it doesn't allow much flexibility and it's not really a best practice. The better approach is a two-step process. So you activate it in your license management org, and then you give your subscriber customers the option to enable it themselves. So if you think back how Salesforce introduces pilots like DevHub, if you wanted to use DevHub, you would contact Salesforce, log a case, we would activate DevHub in your org, but then you would have to go in as an admin and enable it. It's a two-step process. So it allows you more flexibility, but obviously you have to provide some sort of method for your customers to do that enablement. So let's go into how do you create the feature parameters. Two main methods. The first one is through the UI. So in your packaging org, when you create a managed package, whether it's a beta or a release managed package, it doesn't work with unmanaged packages, so that's something to note. But when you create that package and deploy it to your feature or your packaging org, there's a new sub-tab called feature parameter, and that allows you to define these feature parameters, define the name, the data type, and the direction. Now, when we introduced this last year in pilot, there was some concerns by the ISVs because it didn't really fit in with your dev workflow. When you're creating an application, you develop and test it in dev orgs, and once you get it golden, you deploy it to your packaging org, and really your packaging org is a stable environment. You don't have any changes there. So there are some workarounds. You could deploy it, define your feature parameters, and then backport that using the metadata API into your dev orgs. Or you could create an empty package, deploy it, create your feature parameters. Either way, it's a bit kludgy. The better way is through metadata and Scratch orgs. So feature parameters are just metadata. So you can define these locally using your favorite text editor or IDE. It's just XML. So as you can see, it shows the data flow direction, it shows the name, and it shows the value. And it shows the data type in the XML definition or the tag. So you can define these locally, push and pull them between Scratch orgs, so you can work on your feature management specific code locally without even having to touch your packaging org. And then when it's all ready, you can package it up in a managed package. So one thing to note is this works with managed packages. You don't need to have second generation packages to use this. So you can package it up in a managed package, deploy it to your packaging org, and then continue your user acceptance testing, QA testing as normal. So demo time. So let me go into VS Code. So I'm in here. What I'm going to show is, I got to look at the monitor here. Oops. So I'm in VS Code, and I've already pushed my code up to Scratch org. So the first thing I want to do is just show you the application. So I'm going to open up my Scratch org. And this will take a couple of moments. So what I'm showing you in this demo is basically the dev workflow. So being able to create feature parameters, work with them locally, and then set things and test them out locally within a Scratch org. So this application is just a simple dummy budgeting application where I can define projects, set up expense tracking, and the feature that I want to roll out to my subscribers is allow them to see an extra column in the list view. It's kind of a simple demo use case, but it works for this. So I'm demoing the two-step process. So I'm in as a subscriber admin, and I want to enable a feature. So if I click on this, I'm not able to do it because I haven't activated it as an ISV. So let me go back into VS Code. And what I'm going to do is, this is where I have to, hope I can move the screen down. So this is the feature parameter. And now I'm going to set this to true, save it. And I'm going to push this to my Scratch org. So again, what I'm doing is I'm simulating the behavior of setting this in my LMO and that getting propagated back to the Scratch or the subscriber org. So now I'm over here. Let me refresh the page. So now I can enable the features. So now as a subscriber admin, I can enable the feature, save it, and now if I go back into my project, now my subscriber users can actually see the extra column. Simple use case, but it works for our demo purposes. So let me go back into PowerPoint, if I can find it here. All right. So what I want to do is quickly just go through how you use the code to interact with the feature management framework. So if you define an LMO to subscriber parameter, you're going to use the check package methods in your application. So this will allow you in the application to query those parameters and take the appropriate action, whether it's showing a visual force page or showing that extra column. For the other direction, you'll use the set package methods. So you'll have parameters, and in your application, when something happens, let's say the admin enables one of the users, or maybe they create a record that you want to track, you can use these set methods to send that information back to the LMO. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is the LMO to subscriber usually takes about 24 hours. So it's an asynchronous process both ways, so just be aware of that. So we talked about the local dev testing workflow. Let's talk about once you get the package created, how you distribute it, and your subscribers interact with it. So the first is you create the package with the feature parameters. The next is once you install it in AppExchange and the customers install it, license and feature parameter records will be created on your license management org. Then you can activate these features for select customers. So let's say you've got 100 subscribers, maybe you've got 10 specific that you want to pilot this feature, you activate it for those 10. This two-step process, those admins can then enable that feature, and then you can track the metrics back. So let's do another demo. So this demo, I'm going to show the other side, the actual subscriber and LMO process. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so here I have my packaging org. This is just to show you what it looks like, what that subtab looks like in the packaging org. So here's my FM demo. If I click on that, here's my feature parameter subtab. And if I scroll down, here you can see this allows you to define, again, you should be able to do this locally with DX and Scratch orgs, but here you can see the parameters, the type, and the direction. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in as the subscriber, and it's the exact same demo app. So here I am as subscriber. I don't see the extra column. If I go into Feature Console, I'm not able to click any of these. These are all disabled, and I'm actually clicking it. It doesn't show it on the page. So this is NA40, so that's my subscriber dev org. So let me go over to, this is my license management org. So now you'll be able to see what the feature management application gives you. So here is my FM demo app. I'll go into the licensing details. Now, obviously, for my case, I've got multiple demo apps. You will have multiple records for your app subscribers. So if I go into the related list, this is what feature management application gives you. It gives you related lists of all the parameters broken up by the metadata types. So now I want to activate this LMO to subscriber. So I'm going to edit it. And I'm just going to activate it. It's a checkbox. It's a Boolean type. And I'll save it. And if I go back to my subscriber org and refresh and make sure I made my offerings to the demo gods, now we can see that you probably can't see it too clearly, but now I can check it, save it, and lo and behold, the feature is available for the end users. So that's your actual distribution experience. So I've got about 3 minutes left. In conclusion, a couple of resources. We've got a chatter group. It's not out on the partner community. It's out in the success community. I would highly advise you to join it. We're going to make these slides available, and I've got all the links within the deck. You'll be able to interact with other partners that are using this, but more importantly, the TE group, my group, participates on this, and also the feature management product leads participate on this. The second link is the demo app that I was using here. I modified it slightly, but Dilip Burki, who's the product manager of feature management, created this. It's a very simple app with a very good introductory page on how to use it. You notice that I did DX and Scratch orgs, so if you're not feeling comfortable with DX or you want to get just up to speed or your team up to speed, I can't highly recommend the Trailhead getting started with DX. It's fantastic. It walks you through basics of using Git and version control, all the way through using DX, Scratch orgs, and finally to doing continuous integration. And finally, the ISV guide. We've got a section on feature management that goes into all the beautiful or gory details, however you want to look at it. Finally, please give us feedback. We're always looking to improve this conference, make it better. Give me feedback. Hopefully, you got a lot of good information here. And finally, thank you very much for listening to me. It was an honor. And thanks to the video and audio support team. Thanks.